if you recall from the invitation, we're going to be talking all about Microsoft Business Voice, and in particular, the voice over IP aspects of the application. And we have two wonderful speakers for you today, Darren Nyberg and Andres Oseguera. Darren is the Director of Client Strategy for Xantrion. He manages our virtual CIO team. His team provides strategic advice and oversees infrastructure management and support for their growing life science and financial services clients. Obviously, we have clients in other industries too, but those are our primary industries that we focus on these days. Darren himself has been an information technology consultant for more than a decade, advising clients on cloud strategy, security, remote workforce enablement, and data governance. And today we're going to kind of be focusing on that remote workforce enablement piece. And Andres is a registered Microsoft Customer Immersion Experience Facilitator for Xantrion. That means he's an expert in conducting training events that allow clients to test drive the latest Microsoft services like Modern Workplace, 365 Security, and Azure. He's an experienced facilitator who can lead discussions regarding the value of Microsoft technology. And so he is going to be starting us off today.
All right, so we have a polling question first here just to get us started. Bonnie, if you could go ahead and send out that polling question here for everybody on the session. Very, very excited to be here today, you guys. I think, really the polling questions are about making sure we're able to address your needs and understand your situation as much as possible. Specifically, the first one we have here is, are you currently using more than one communication platform? I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to go ahead and give us a response here. You should see it pop up in your meeting. If not, go ahead and see that inside of the chat window. Now, why is this such a relevant question? Okay, that is really what I want to get into. And I'm actually very excited to a certain degree to see that a lot of us are using a wide variety of different communication platforms. And the reason that's important for our discussion today is we're going to be talking about a service that has really taken the industry by storm over the last couple of years, which is called Unified Communications as a Service. Now, this isn't necessarily a specific product, but this is an opportunity to understand the different capabilities that you can roll together into one succinct solution. So far what I'm seeing here, it looks like we've got about 100% of us who are using a variety of different platforms to go ahead and actively do that. Now, again, why is this relevant? Well, as we're working here inside of this virtual business world, right? As we're trying to leverage a lot of these different services for our different communication channels, one of the best ways to make sure we're efficient at what we do and we're effective in the work that we do is that we have this unified platform to really do a lot of the great things in regards to completing our work, right? Specifically, when we're talking about unified communication as a service, we're talking about bringing messaging, about bringing video conferencing, telephony, collaboration tools under a single interface that you and all of your different employees can use and leverage every day to do your work. Now, one of the other, very important aspects of a unified communication as a service platform is that we want to make sure we have it based off of a subscription model. And the reason for that is twofold, right? One of the things that we're going to be talking about later on is about, an on-prem phone system and some of those upfront costs that are associated with that, right? The maintenance, the ongoing maintenance, the initial investment you need to make to set that up. When we're looking towards a subscription model, right, we're looking more in regards to paying a monthly fee that is manageable, you can build into your budget, and it's easier for the organization to plan around. Now, the other piece of that that's also very important to understand is that you're always going to be getting the latest and greatest version of that software, right? When we're talking about Microsoft 365, for example, one of the really effective pieces of the tool is the fact that you're constantly getting updates from the mothership, right? If you've been on Teams for an extended period of time now, you've seen the progression and the growth of this platform and how it's really evolved, even in just the last year. I'll leave you guys with a statistic that blew my mind. About a year ago, March of 2020, we were around 20 to 25 million daily active users inside of the Teams platform. Today, we're looking anywhere from 125 to up to 145 daily active users in the millions for Microsoft Teams. So we're talking about massive growth. And I think really, a priority or a reason behind that is really ultimately how business has fundamentally changed given what's occurred over the last year. So, with that being said, I'm going to talk about that here in just a bit. But before we get there, I do have another polling question here just to kind of set the stage that I'm going to ask Bonnie to go ahead and send out here to the group. All right. So this next question, which scenario best describes your company? Do you have employees who have returned to work in the office? Do you have employees who are working remotely? Do you have maybe more of a hybrid model, where you're, potentially having a blend of the two? Now, why again is this a relevant question? And I'll give you guys 30 seconds to go ahead and respond here. I think probably one of the most important pieces to understand is how business has fundamentally changed, right? I referenced that with what happened during the pandemic. I think things have really evolved to more of this hybrid workforce. And this doesn't mean that the world is falling apart. Okay? It doesn't mean that it's totally different, but it means we have reached a point where things are starting to really evolve to a virtual business environment where you're probably going to see businesses put their foot down. I'm either going to be all in the office, we're going to bring this back to exactly how it was, but that's probably going to be the minority of organizations. Most organizations are probably going to be in the middle there, either working remotely to go ahead and save on real estate costs, for example, or having more of a hybrid approach where you're giving people the opportunity to work from home or maybe come into the office 2 or 3 times a week. And so the reason this is relevant, the reason this is important, and as I can see here from the poll that we sent out, looks like pretty much all of us haven't really returned 100% to the office. We're in this hybrid model or this remote model, which again is what we have seen become really the norm inside of the business industry with our experience. So you guys are absolutely highlighting what we've actually noticed. Now, again, why is this relevant? Well, this is relevant because, we're starting to get to an inflection point where things are finally, hopefully, looking like we're going in the right direction. And that naturally is going to elicit change, right? People are going to be coming back to a certain degree to the office. And so we need to have some solution that can provide the benefits that we need for this hybrid workforce enablement, right? As some of us are working from home, as some of us are coming back into the office, how can we ensure that we're empowering them? We're giving them the ability to go ahead and work appropriately to get things done and to be efficient in the way they do work. How are we promoting cloud-based workspaces, right? How are we providing them access to these technology initiatives that will allow them to work remotely with users in their organization while not bringing down the effectiveness of that work? If anything, increasing their ability to actually work better with their colleagues, right? Something that is very relevant and very important. And then what we're talking about today, and what I think is probably one of the most relevant topics here in regards to a return to work solution, is this very, very deep need for flexible communication. I'll tell you some of the horror stories that I ran into as I was actually doing a lot of these sessions on Microsoft Teams about a year ago, was that a lot of organizations had just made an investment in an on-prem phone system. And the problem with that was, well, guess what? As soon as people all went home and we weren't able to work in the office, there needed to be a drastic change with how they were able to actually communicate both inside and outside of the organization, because they got to a point where the phone system just was simply not able to be leveraged because everybody was at home. And so how can we go ahead and take advantage of something that can go ahead and blend both the need to work from home and the need to work in the office and not compromise those capabilities while still having a very useful phone system. And so this is where the benefits, again, of a unified communication as a service platform come into play, right? You're going to have flexible communication from any place, any location, any device. I'm going to have a unified solution to help me accomplish my tasks and my goals, right? I can message one of my teammates and start a conversation. I can call them from the same application to do that. And ultimately, we can even get in the same document and work together on that same application, all encompassed in one service, which would be Microsoft Teams or Unified Communication as a Service platform, right? Additionally, on top of that, which we haven't even gotten into, you're going to be able to minimize your hardware costs if that's something you're not looking to invest in. And you're going to have this pay-per-user model, which again is going to help you be able to plan for these costs and build them into your monthly budgets. And then something that I don't think we really talk about enough about unified communication as a service is the online access and the redundancy that ultimately builds into our phone system, right? You know, on-prem, if something happens, it goes down. Well, we're completely, our phone system is now hampered and it's not able to be used for an extended period of time until that comes back up. When we're talking about VoIP services, voice over IP, which we'll get into here in just a second, well, you have to be thinking about the fact that Wi-Fi has now almost become a necessary tool for a lot of people here that are working inside of our new business environment. And, you know, given that understanding, we're going to be able to leverage calling capabilities at any point in time when we do have access to Wi-Fi, to data, any way to get access to the internet. So, you know, there's a lot of benefits here from unified communications as a service, and I'm hoping I'm able to really paint that picture as to why it's relevant for you and your specific needs. Now, something to note here, we're speaking specifically about Microsoft Teams and how that blends into you know, one of the premier unified communication as a service platforms. You see this this visual here from Gartner. They actually did you know, a study here, and Teams was actually placed as one of the leaders here in this industry because of this collaborative workspace, which I've told you has grown 5, 6, 7x over the last year, right? We've got all of the needs here for that service. We've got video conferencing, which is, you know, with Zoom, the top 2 best video conferencing solutions on the marketplace. We've got internal chat communications, which are absolutely incredible, where we can really integrate all the messaging, all the calling, all the sharing into one specific location of the application. I've got collaboration, which I can do real time with my teammates. I've got, again, that predictable user-based pricing, and I've got, most importantly, that voice over IP capabilities built into the Microsoft Teams solution so that I have that holistic communication platform for all of my needs, right? So hopefully I'm able to paint this picture, right? Why is voice over IP so relevant? How does that blend into unified communications as a service? And how is Teams able to really bring that impact forward to all of their customers? Now, before I leave you here with some cost considerations to think about, let me go ahead and push this back to Bonnie here for one of our last polling questions here, which is going to be relevant as we get into this last conversation. Specifically, we're going to be asking, are you currently using an on-premises phone system? Okay, this is probably one of the most important questions that you need to be asking yourself. It doesn't mean that, you know, the world is falling apart if you do, but the point I'm trying to make here is that if you are today, you've got an opportunity, and that opportunity is to hopefully increase the value of your communication services and ultimately reduce the cost that you're spending on a monthly basis for them as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave you here before I send you over to Darren. Just a couple considerations that I want you to be thinking about and why I'm such an advocate and why I think this is such an important topic for a lot of organizations in the marketplace. Okay, let's just quickly compare. When we're talking about an on-prem phone system and we're thinking about something like Microsoft 365 Business Voice, number one, think about installation, right? Think about how much time and the resources you need to dedicate to actually do that process. Where when we're talking about a voice over IP solution in Microsoft Teams, minimal or even no setup fees. If you have your numbers ready to go, you just need to port them over and you basically get started. Ongoing maintenance costs, right? This is one of the biggest complaints a lot of organizations have with their on-prem phone system. They need to invest resources and time. Okay, that's something that we don't always think about. What's the time and materials cost for the business that it takes to actually maintain that infrastructure, right? I don't have to worry about any of that inside of my Microsoft Teams solution because that's all managed, maintained, and taken care of for me through the capabilities of the Microsoft ecosystem. Think about scalability, right? As an organization, you should always be looking at how can I increase my profitability? How can I grow my business and ultimately expand my workforce? When we're thinking about an on-prem phone system, every time you add a user, you're going to need to probably add extra wire lines, need to add an extra line to that actual service. Whereas inside of M365 Business Voice, we literally, at the click of a button, go ahead and online create a new user in minutes. Rapid, easy, and much more scalable. And then lastly, when we're talking about an on-prem phone system, out of the box, you're again segmenting your communication tools. You have to pay that out of the box price for those services. Whereas inside of Microsoft 365, we're able to take advantage of economies of scale and have that bundled discount available to us because we're integrating these calling capabilities into our overall subscription with our Microsoft service. And so hopefully you can see, there's a lot of different layers to this. There's a lot of reasons why overall, unified communication as a service absolutely needs to be a consideration for your business. And specifically, especially if you're already inside of the M365 platform, you understand the capabilities and why it's such a phenomenal service. Well, why not go ahead, bundle your calling and bring together more value for a reduced price? As you can see there, average telecom savings from voice over IP, when you're moving from on-prem, you typically see anywhere from a 20 to 50% cost reduction when actually making the transition. So there's a lot of value here. There's a million different reasons why it's something you should be thinking about. But overall, hopefully I walked you through some of those capabilities and hopefully you understand why this is such a relevant topic. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Darren here so that he can walk you through a couple of the things here today.
Great. Thanks, Andres. A little bit of an echo, so if anyone can mute if you're not talking, thank you. So I'd like to begin with a real-world example of one of Xantrion's clients that is currently considering a move to Microsoft 365 Business Voice. So this is a financial advisor, 150 employees. They're distributed throughout the country, so they have a nationwide presence. They would really like to combine all of they have kind of a medley of voice services today and other communication services, as you can see. On the left-hand side, they currently are working with Telepacific, which is now TPX, to host their cloud voice phone system. In addition, it comes with a T1 voice line, which we don't think is absolutely necessary this day and age, and I'll talk a little bit more of that in a second. There's also a Zoom meeting component that they have today, so they have virtual meetings external with their clients, and they're paying about $1,200 a month just for that platform alone. And then they also have Microsoft Office 365 E3 licensing for productivity. So this is their Microsoft Office suite, Microsoft Teams, and other cloud services like SharePoint, email, OneDrive, etc. All that comes in the E3 base package, which they already have. Most of Xantrion's clients have this E3 license or something very similar to it today. So this is kind of a good real world example of a 150-person company. They're spending around $11,000 a month today. Our proposal has them switching over to Microsoft 365 Business Voice to combine everything into one platform. So the cloud voice component is the $4,800 price tag that you'll see there. That is actually including both licensing and the support costs for Xantrion to support the phone system in addition to other IT services. As you can see, they also still have the same productivity license, which is a requirement in order to get Teams for Voice, 365 Voice to layer into Microsoft Teams. But what we're not seeing here is a T1 line. And so like I mentioned before, I don't think this is absolutely necessary this day and age. All of us have been working from home for an extended period of time and can attest to Teams, Zoom, and other platforms being just fine on your home internet connection. These new modern platforms do a much better job of handling internet connections that aren't stellar and have intermittent issues from time to time. So It's a good solution. It's solid, and it doesn't require a dedicated internet circuit into the building anymore. And therefore, you can see there's a drastic cost savings here, around $3,500 a month. And in addition to the cost savings, you're also leveraging one platform going forward and having one support provider providing support for voice and IT. Seems like a win-win. So with that, I'd like to start talking a little bit about hardware. So let's talk about desk phones to start. So yes, Microsoft 365 Business Voice can be used with a desk phone. We prefer the Yealink model here. I believe this is an MP56, something along those lines. We like it. It has a nice big color touchscreen. It has all these big buttons that you can press, so it feels and acts very much like the desk phones that you are used to. These start at around, I think this particular model is closer to $300, but you can find less expensive alternatives that start at around $190 from Yealink and other providers like Poly and similar companies. That being said, we think that most staff don't need a desk phone anymore. There will always be a case that some folks in your organization will need a desk phone, maybe the folks that sit up at reception, or maybe there's a communal hotel type phone situation where you'd want to have a physical phone in a strategic location in your office. However, most employees can probably make do with having a headset or using their smartphone or using what I'm using right now, which is speakerphone via speakers and a microphone on my computer. So there's lots of options. Everyone has a smartphone these days, or most people have a smartphone these days. And most smartphones came with a headset at one point in time. Apple stopped doing that, but most people probably have a wired or wireless headset at their house that plugs into their smartphone, and that makes a perfectly good substitute for a desk phone if you're using the Microsoft Teams app on your smartphone. That's a rhetorical question, but how many of you out there have seen your company spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on physical phones, only to have to throw them all away in 5 years when you have a phone system migration to a new platform, and then you rinse and repeat, spend another tens of thousands of dollars to replace all the hardware and then throw those away another 5 years from now. So let's stop doing this and really be more mindful around where we're placing desk phones and try to minimize it as to really only where it's needed or where folks are kicking and screaming and can't live without their desk phone. So keeping along the same theme of hardware, I wanted to talk about a new technology, emerging technology called Teams Rooms. So Microsoft Teams Rooms are set to replace the old conference phone that just sits in the middle of your table. Instead of having a conference room with a phone in the middle of the table with everybody just kind of being vaguely far away, this really brings the entire room together with the audience. So if you have a Teams meeting and you have a Teams room with everybody in it, everybody in that room is now included into the Teams meeting, and everybody anywhere they are in the world can kind of join that conference room effectively remotely. The way that these work is it's a high quality soundbar type setup. And this has a really high definition camera with tracking capabilities to know how many folks are in the room, making sure that it's capturing everybody in frame and just everybody in frame. So if you have one person in the room, it kind of zooms in on that one person. If you have 6 people in the room, it zooms out so that everyone can be visible on camera. It has really advanced microphone array with beamforming technology so that it can kind of locate exactly who's talking and isolate their voice as opposed to cluttering in a lot of background noise. And then it has a really nice speaker system as well with room filling sound. So most medium and small conference rooms will be well equipped with this soundbar type setup that I have pictured here. These typically start at around $2,000, $3,000, and that's not including a television. So if you already have a conference room with a TV, a lot of folks already do, great. You just need to slap this soundbar into the mix and you have everything that you need. But if you don't have a TV, you should, or if you have a projector, you should think about investing in a television instead. Projectors don't work well in this setup because you have to turn all the lights off and then you can't see everybody. So that kind of defeats the purpose. And this also comes with a iPad-like tablet to let you run the show. So you can start the meeting, stop the meeting, do some camera controls, mute the whole thing if you wanted to. So it gives you a lot of ability to have everything at your fingertips at the conference table while you're in the meeting to make it nice and clean and convenient for everybody. You can also book these rooms in your Outlook calendar, just like it were any other conference room or resource calendar that you already have today. So very convenient, emerging technology, very new, and we don't see a whole lot of clients asking for this today. They're asking for it in a few months as the world starts to open up. But we're really excited to start introducing these at a lot of our clients in the very near future. So with that, I would like to give everyone a quick demonstration of Microsoft Teams utilizing Microsoft Business Voice within it. So I'm going to share my screen and share my audio and place a quick test call. Just give me a moment while I queue this up. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen at this point. I have Microsoft Teams open. If you're familiar with Teams, great. You probably recognize some of these tabs. If you're not familiar with Teams, this is probably a whole other webinar. But if you are, you can see our activity on the left-hand side. That shows kind of a log of all the chat and other things that are happening within my organization. This is actually a demo tenant, so I'm not. This isn't real conversations that are happening. You can see your chat log. You can also see your actual team chat channels. My calendar's here, it's empty. And then there's a new thing called on the left-hand side for the calls tab. Regular Teams has this tab and allows you to make audio video calls with other folks that have Teams. However, when you introduce the Microsoft Business Voice licensing, it gives you this, it exposes this small section in the bottom left. And this is now my dialing option to allow me to use Teams to dial out to the real world. So I'm going to give our Chief Technology Officer, Christian Kelly, a quick phone call, as I often do. Let's see if he picks up. Hopefully he picks up. Hopefully I dialed the right number.
Hey, Darren.
Hey, Christian, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Just wanted to give you a quick call and see if you wanted to join me and the family at an A's game this weekend. You know they're in first place.
Oh, man, I was actually going to go see the Giants. I hear they're in first place as well.
Okay, that's fine. Really hard to be a baseball fan in the Bay Area right now, I guess. All right, well, thanks. I'll chat to you later. Talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. I'm also going to have Christian give me a call back. So hopefully he is now fumbling on his phone trying to dial my number right back so you can see what a call looks like when it's coming into the Teams app. So as you can see on the bottom right, we've got Christian calling me. So let me hit accept. Hey, Christian, how are you doing?
Hey, Darren. On second thought, let's go see that baseball game together.
Okay.
It'll be fun. We'll bring the kids.
Okay, sounds great. See you then.
Bye.
All right. Okay, so as you can see, very straightforward. It really is a no-frills addition to the Teams app. Again, not much changes functional-wise. It just gives you this exposed dial pad that you didn't have before. It also displays your phone number right here in case you ever forget it. Sometimes you get a new phone number with a new phone system. Helpful to have that handy. While we're here, let's quickly take a look at voicemail. So similar to other modern voice platforms, Microsoft has introduced visual voicemail as a concept. So here's a voicemail that was left earlier today by an Alan Young giving me a call. So I'm going to hit play on this real quick, and you'll see how well the transcription transcribed this voice message.
Hi, my name is Alan Young, and I'm calling in regards to invoice number 51325, which was overpaid by $235. This shouldn't take too long to clear up over the phone, so please give me a call back at your earliest convenience at 510-555-8425. Thank you for your time, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
So as you can see, the voice transcription got that 100%. It's normally pretty close to 100%. I've seen this be much more accurate than our last phone system, which was also a cloud-based phone system, but really struggled to capture transcriptions accurately, especially if somebody had an accent. Not saying that won't be a problem here, but it does seem to be pretty improved, and Microsoft's doing some impressive things in the back end to get that transcription accurate. So that's the desktop app. I wanted to also quickly show everybody what the mobile app looks like. Unfortunately, I can't show you 100% what this looks like because I'm also in this meeting on my phone. So let me just give you a quick demonstration. Okay, so I believe everybody is now able to see my mobile device. I'm going to, as you can see, I'm in the meeting right now. I'm going to hop out of this meeting and hop into my general Teams app. So along the bottom, you can see I still have my activity, chat, our Teams here. My calendar is here as well. And then I also have my calls tab. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of this window. It's just going to have to kind of hang out. I'm going to go to the calls tab, and in the very top right, it's small, but there's a new button that wasn't here before my company added 365 Business Voice, and that is the phone icon with a little plus. If I hit that, it exposes a dial pad, just like I saw on my computer. From this dial pad, I can dial a phone number. And you're probably hearing my phone a bit. And then I could hit call. Unfortunately, I can't make this call right now because I'm already in this meeting demonstrating the app on my phone. But as you can see, it's very straightforward and looks very similar, near identical to the desktop app, and really doesn't give you a whole lot of much else. It gives you the basics. Hey, now I can make phone calls from my Teams app that I couldn't make before. So now that I have it on my mobile device, I can make and receive phone calls anywhere I am, and it looks just like a regular phone call as it comes into my computer. So with that, I think that is the end of our meat and bones of the presentation. So Bonnie, I think, is going to throw up the slide deck again. And I think we're going to turn it over to a quick Q&A session. So I see a lot of questions were coming in during the presentation. So we'll do our best to feed those questions to the presenters and then answer those questions. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Yeah, I can ask a couple of these questions, and we can kind of work through them. There was some questions about more advanced call features. Darren, I'm not sure if you're aware of the kind of voicemail, like we got a question about auto attendance for after hours, if we can direct callers to leave a voicemail and if they can choose to reach after hours. I know that there's been advancements in the in the auto attendant, but do you know, I mean, I know it's not as full featured as like phone systems that have been around for a decade, but can you speak to a little bit around the auto attendant capabilities?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I see the questions. I saw the questions as they were coming in. Very good questions. You're right, Christian. The Teams phones, the Microsoft 365 Business Voice phone system is relatively new and not meant to be a super advanced call center type phone system. It's meant to be the phone system that can meet the needs of 95% of businesses, especially businesses that are in an office type environment. Those seem to be really good fits for Microsoft Business Voice. So the question that came in specifically was, hey, if I want to set up an after hours auto attendant and we want to direct callers to either leave a voicemail or choose to reach an after hours number for emergencies, yes, you can absolutely do that with an auto attendant. So you can have a dial 1 to leave a voicemail, dial 2 to be connected to an agent immediately for support. And then that when you dial 2, that can even link to either a single person or that can link to a round robin type hunt group for various individuals to be able to answer. Whoever picks up first gets the call type situation. So yes, that is absolutely a possibility of Business Voice today.
A question came in around faxing. I can actually take this one. There was a question about if there's any Teams kind of faxing integration or capability. There's no direct ability, I believe, to allow a fax, native into the Microsoft voice system. Darren can correct me if I'm wrong, but there are a plethora of fax to email systems out there that are very inexpensive, and you can hook up a fax to email, which then pushes into relatively easy into a Teams channel. So you can get those faxes dropping right into a Teams channel with little effort. but the actual dial tone on that incoming fax wouldn't necessarily be the direct Microsoft capability. It would be eFax or something like that. Another question came in about SMS capability. There is no direct SMS capability today. So if you text a business voice number, that text unfortunately doesn't come into Teams, or and it doesn't come through in any meaningful way. I would think that may be something that Microsoft's working on, but it doesn't exist today. You can do some tricks with like Twilio and integrations where you can have texts come into Teams without issue, right? So if you have a text number that you want to display on your website and you want to feed that into a Teams channel, that's absolutely possible, but your direct business DID numbers won't allow inbound text directly.
Yeah, they seem to be adding. I see little snippets of SMS texting in the reporting system for Microsoft, so they're planning on it. It's definitely coming, but it has yet to arrive. So it'll happen relatively soon. I believe Zoom just got the ability to add text, and they're trying to stay lockstep with Zoom with regards to features. So I would expect to see it sometime very soon, hopefully this summer, to see texting integrated into Teams. But there may be an added cost to it. Who knows?
Yeah. There was a question about handsets.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say there was a question about handsets, and Darren, I know you've done some research on this about whether you can kind of reflash older Poly or Cisco handsets to work with this platform. Do you want to take a crack at that?
Yeah, so kinda is the answer that I want to give. So if you really want the best experience, you're probably going to be best suited getting a new phone that is purpose built for this platform. The A-Link that I showed off beforehand is a really good option. Older phones, Polycom has a bunch of older phones that are compatible. The list is not large, but there are a handful of phones from various vendors that are compatible with Microsoft Teams as a voice platform. However, a lot of functionality is lost. So things like transferring calls, being able to tap on somebody's name. The concept of extension dialing doesn't exist in this platform. You click on the person's name in the company, you type in the person's name in the company, and that's how you find them. There isn't a 3-digit extension to remember. So if you want to transfer a call or quickly dial somebody, you can't really do that from an older phone that doesn't have the touchscreen and the concept of, oh, these are all the individuals in my phone system. So yes, but really, if you're looking to have the best experience, you should upgrade your phone. Or better yet, not use a phone at all and just use a headset instead.
Yep. There was some questions about transferring between computers and phones. Darren, I know you're up on what's been happening there, and there's been some new functionality released recently. Do you want to take a crack at that?
Sure. So you can transfer from the desktop to the phone fairly easily today. The inverse is not really true, unfortunately, but they are bringing that into the platform very soon. I forget what they're calling it. It's something like Device Anywhere or device handoff, I think they're calling it. That feature is coming, I think, within the next 2 to 4 weeks into Microsoft Teams. But for today, you kind of can. It's a little bit wonky to get a call from my mobile device back into my computer, but I can add my mobile device as a second device or transfer the call to my device. When I start the meeting on my phone, it gives me an option as to which one of those two I'd like to do.
Yep. I think I'll take a crack at this one. Someone asked about saying we currently have VoIP desk phones. We have call feature. It seems like they have the call feature on Teams now. Well, we need to still pay the subscription fee if we port the user's desk phones to Teams. And the answer there is yes. Microsoft isn't charging you more to have a phone or to have Teams. The licensing includes the ability to make and receive calls, whether that's on your Teams app for mobile, whether it's on your desktop, or whether it's on a hard Teams compatible phone. You can have all of them, you can have some of them, but the license is the same amount for the license. And I hope that was the question that was.
It depends on what you mean by call feature. So I see the question is asking, hey, we have a call feature in Teams now. As I showed, I had that call tab prior to having a voice license, but I could only place voice calls to folks who had Teams.
Correct.
When you add that voice license, you now get the ability to call from your 10-digit phone number to other 10-digit phone numbers out in the world anywhere that you can. So that is typically an extra subscription fee. Porting numbers is free. Holding and parking numbers is also free in Microsoft, which is unusual. Most voice providers will typically charge you a nominal fee to park a bunch of phone numbers to be used at a later date for future employees. Microsoft does not charge you for that today, and I don't see any indication that they will be charging in the future.
Right. There was a question about favoriting numbers. So the question was, can I import numbers? Can I import numbers that are outside my org so that they can be searched by name, or if I receive a call, can I save them? If you have 1,000 contacts in your Outlook/Office, does that integrate with Teams, Darren? Do you see the names associated with those numbers, or how exactly does that work?
Yeah, so your contacts show up as contacts in your Teams, just like they would in Outlook. And you can favorite various contacts if you'd like them to trickle up to the top of your contact list within Teams specifically. So yes, you can add contact lists fairly easily into Microsoft Teams.
Yeah. And it is true that most kind of more cloud-based modern systems like RingCentral or Zoom or others also don't charge to park numbers. I think we were talking more about kind of the traditional TPX, Mastergy, vendors like that that are not true cloud-only vendors, typically charge a nominal fee for parking DIDs. But the more modern systems, I agree, are tending to move away from the nickel and diming around that type of stuff.
However, I know for a fact that Zoom does charge for this. So.
Oh, okay. So not all. Some
yeah,
do,
not
some
all.
don't.
But yes, it is more of a modern thing to just not charge for it. But yeah, older phone companies would charge $5, $10 a month per line just to park it and not use it.
I think that is most of the questions. There was another question about is there an ability to robo-block, like is there a robo-block call feature? And I did a quick check. I don't think that's possible. I did want to bring up one variation to this whole dialing concept. Microsoft has a package called Business Voice, which includes essentially a dial plan, a conference, a phone plan, kind of bundled together for organizations that are under 350 employees. That dial plan part of it, you can use a different vendor as your quote unquote dial plan, which may come with more features, right? It may be a more fully fleshed out plan. We're seeing that the default dial plan works for it works for us and it works for most organizations we've dealt with. But if you do have very unique needs, there is a concept of that you can use Teams for Voice and then still have, maybe a more advanced dial plans that maybe has some of those features like robocall blocking and things like that. So just wanted to throw that out as people are looking. The default is to go with the Microsoft dial plan. If that works for you, that's the simplest and in our opinion, the best. But if you have unique and more advanced needs, there are other partners that will be your kind of dial plan provider. And then you may get some of those features.
Yeah, Christian, you may have just mentioned this, but the call recording feature that somebody asked about is not baked into 365 Business Voice today, but you can option to use a direct routing partner, third-party voice partner, like Christian was saying, to kind of host your voice lines, and that can introduce the ability to record phone calls. So if that is something that is absolutely necessary, then yes, it's possible, but it's more complicated to accomplish.
Darren, what was the vendor, the name of the vendor that we're suggesting? Oh, someone posted
yeah, James from Xantron just posted the exact model that I had in the picture. So this is the one that we like. Again, it has nice big physical buttons and a big touch screen that allows you to quickly navigate through your organization's team.
Right. Excellent. There was one final, I think there's still some questions, Darren, around the call contact. Does call contact work with Teams call? Do you understand the line of questioning there, and then the Outlook see previous question?
I don't quite understand what is being asked. If you wouldn't mind elaborating, whoever asked the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can call your contacts from Teams. So it's fairly straightforward. I didn't have any contacts loaded into my demo environment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe click to call is the question, which is capable. So anywhere throughout my Windows operating system, if I tap on a phone number that's clickable, it will ask me, hey, what do you want to use as your primary voice platform once? And I say, I want to use Teams. And now we'll make that call through Teams. So a click to dial is effectively implemented. It's very straightforward.
Yep. Yeah, there's a good question here about, well, won't that handset that we're showing become obsolete as well? And yes,
Yes.
we're not saying go out and buy, handsets necessarily. If you have a user or a set of users that really are used to handsets and don't want to move away from it, there are handsets available, and these handsets essentially have like an embedded Android kind of Teams client baked into the phone. So, they can be, somewhat updated and things like that. But yes, if you got those handsets for Teams today and in 5 years you were moving to something else, you would have to get yet another handset. So that same caveat would still be there.
More of a reason to just not buy handsets where you can.
Yeah. All right, I think that is the end of the questions.
All right, so if you guys have additional questions, feel free to reach out to support@Xantrion or Darren or Christian directly. But thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found the information of value. We will be sending out a recording of this presentation next week, so you can share it with others, or if you had to drop off early. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to staying in touch with everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Have a great day.